Good evening, everybody. We're just letting folks come in from the waiting room. We'll get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. Just want to make sure that everybody gets in. So if you be patient for 1 or 2 minutes, we'll be ready to start the program.
And Alderman, I got the slide deck here. I'll share the screen after you make your comments so folks can see everything.
Awesome. Okay, we're hovering around 41 people. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March community meeting here in the 24th Ward. I'm Alderman Scott, and I am joined by a bunch of great individuals with a bunch of great projects that we have for the 24th Ward community. We have Lawndale Redefined, which is anchored by Cornelius Griggs and AJ Patton, two young developers that are going to do marvelous work here in the community. We also have East Lake Management, who is here. I think we got Tyler Holland, and is the pastor on the phone? Well, if pastor's not, I think we're in good hands with Tyler Holland, and the Grace Manor project that is also going to be on Ogden. And then we also want to talk to you about a possible development that we have here in the 24th Ward, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm also joined by Brian Hacker, who has been an amazing partner here in the 24th Ward. He has led the West Region team in developing all of these projects. And so I want to issue him our sincerest thanks for his hard work. And then we also have Commissioner Cox, who I will bring to you a little bit later. But I'm going to turn it over to Brian to give you an overview of what this evening will be. And then I will join you again to introduce Commissioner Cox. Brian, go right ahead.
Hey, thanks a lot, Alderman. And just for those who I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, as Alderman Scott said, my name is Brian Hacker. I'm a planner with the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, working in the West Region. We've been partnering very closely with the 24th Ward, Alderman Scott, and happy to be here tonight to present some upcoming projects that we've got for the Ogden Avenue and West Southwest corridor. Thank you all for joining us. So I just wanted to mention that just the general structure of the evening tonight, there will be an opportunity for Q&A. I'll pull up our agenda here right now so you can see the structure for the meeting. But just so everyone is on the same page here, you will have an opportunity to either enter questions in the chat, or if you raise your hand, I can also give you the permission to speak and elevate you up. So I want to make sure that if folks do want to speak up and ask their question and be on screen, that you have the opportunity to do that, although you know, right now not everyone has that opportunity. So I would also just ask too, as you know, matter of consideration tonight, you know, we've had great experience in our community meetings in North Lawndale. It's been a really productive conversations and great rapport with the community. So I just ask that we keep that up tonight, and let's all be respectful of one another and the attendees and the speakers of the meeting tonight. And I think the more we do that, the better off we'll be in the long run and working as partners to the community. So thank you all very much. And Alderman Scott, back to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Really appreciate, again, all the work that you do. This journey, the Invest Southwest journey, started probably about 2.5, 3 years ago. Commissioner Cox, who I think is doing a marvelous job here in the 24th Ward and across the city of Chicago, came to me and said, hey, what we want to do is issue some RFPs. We want to see if we can get a cadre of young developers of color to want to produce something great in your community. And to be honest with you, when he first made that proposition to me, I was a little bit hesitant. That is not the way the development has happened in Chicago. Not for the 8 years that I've been the alderman, and probably not the 100 years before. We have not had an RFP. And so I was a little concerned, and I didn't think it would work. I'm sincerely glad that I took a chance and we let 2 RFPs. And the commissioner likes to say we had an embarrassment of riches in terms of the number of respondents and the number of quality programs or quality projects that we had here in the 24th Ward. And he will talk to you probably a little bit about the investment that we're going to do with Related Midwest on the Costner Roosevelt project. But, but more so, he's going to talk about all of the great things that are happening on the Ogden corridor. And that is because of he and the mayor's vision about this Invest Southwest. And so, again, I want to bring to you somebody who is a friend of the 24th Ward, somebody who I think is doing a magnificent job in the city of Chicago in terms of bringing developments of color with color leaders and people who are going to make money that, look like you and I and the people who reside in our communities. The Commissioner of Planning and Development, Maurice Cox. Commissioner.
Thank you, Alderman. I think you're very, very generous. This is a partnership, and we could not find a stronger partner than your Alderman Scott. And so he's correct. This is a part of a citywide effort that Mayor Lightfoot has initiated, which really is without precedent. She asked over 14 different city departments to marshal the resources to create a transformational development that was inclusive and that was equitable across 10 geographies on the south and west side. And we were able to bring the full force of planning and design to the table with tax increment financing and a whole series of other financial incentives that would allow for community development to happen by Black and brown developers for residents who are there. And we decided to start at the very core. So we selected the most visible streets within these communities as a place that could be a place to shop, to live, and to recreate. And for Lawndale, it was Ogden Avenue. And so if you go to the next slide, but we chose corridors that were at the heart of 10 different communities. And this, after 18 months, has been the result. There is a pipeline of over $318 million across 10 geographies in 10 different communities. And it was all through a competitive process of a request for developer proposals. And the results, I think if you've been following a little bit in the news, you can go to the next slide, has been a series of multi-story buildings, affordable housing mixed with market rate housing, new anchoring cultural institutions, neighborhood serving retail across the south and west side. And we are particularly excited by the response, the development community's response to the opportunities in North Lawndale. If you go to the next. Because in North Lawndale, where there were multiple sites along the Ogden corridor, the site, the winning project, Lawndale Redefined, the developer leads are here tonight, and I will let them tell you a little bit about it. But this drawing shows you the variety of investments that are happening in North Lawndale. And if you just look at it from Douglas Park Cultural Center to the Reclaiming Chicago infill opportunity, to the investments going into Douglas Park, to the Grace Manor affordable housing, to the Lawndale Redefined, to Roosevelt Costner, you are looking at about $200 million of reinvestment in North Lawndale. And one of the outcomes of the Invest Southwest process, we got so many proposals, so many that they were actually not only in competition, but they were actually complementary. And one of those proposals was a proposal for a new hotel. And so hopefully we'll hear from the development team tonight. But this is exactly what Mayor Lightfoot was hoping would happen, that this would unleash a level of neighborhood community investment that we simply have never seen before. If you go to the next slide, and this is really just a quick overview of just what has happened since this effort started. The Roosevelt Costner, which will be an innovation and job center on Roosevelt. Lawndale Redefined, which is a mixed use housing, retail, tech center hub, and then Grace Manor, which was right across the street from it, and with affordable housing and retail integrated. So this is what's happening as a result of, I think, the efforts, quite frankly, of the alderman and the mayor and the community stakeholders who have kind of shepherded this work over the months, the most recent months. So go to the next. So what we were hoping would happen has happened, that there would be a pipeline now of projects that we are trying to find their right place on the corridor so that we get the synergy of multiple development projects. So go to the next. And this really is a chance to introduce, I think, Brian, are the developers of Proxima going to take it from here, or am I going to be speaking to this?
No,
We were.
the portion of the slide presentation tonight where we're going to hand it over to the project teams and let them speak to their proposed projects or the that projects in various stages of.
So what I will say is what was exciting about the Invest Southwest RFP site is that we got multiple proposals. I think we got 6 different proposals competing for that one site. And one of the more exciting ones that we were not able to accommodate on the RFP site proper was this proposal for a new hotel on Ogden. And we made a commitment to them, and we made a commitment to the alderman to find a place, an appropriate place on the corridor where we could receive this use, because it's an amazing opportunity to, again, diversify the programs, offerings of Ogden, as well as create jobs, and another opportunity to kind of continue the development pipeline on Ogden. So with that, I will pass it to the next presenter.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. I'll introduce the team here, but I just wanted to jump in really quickly to say that we do have a question and answer session planned for the end of this section here. So we're going to be hearing from 3 development teams who have projects proposed on Ogden Avenue. And I'd like to ask that everyone please hold their questions until all of them have had the opportunity to present. It's going to be fairly efficient with our time here. We're not going to be having, half hour for each one. The goal is to devote as much time as possible to discussion and Q&A. So just for those who've already posed questions, we will get to them, but please be patient. So with that said, I'd like to invite Riyad Kazmi and Ravi Patel from the Proxima Hotel team to take over. Go ahead, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox, and the same to you, Brian. Thank you so much. I apologize, guys. I'm out of town with my brothers on a small vacation, but did not want to miss participating in this. So if my camera looks crazy or it's dark, I apologize, but I am here. I'm just going to do this very quick kickoff right here on this first slide, and then Ravi, who really is the one who's the expert and has a lot of experience with this, will chime in and go into the next slide. And then the final slide, we will do together just a highlight of what the economic impact will be to the Lawndale community. So very briefly, this first slide here is just giving you an overview of Proxima. They specialize in service related to retail, hotel, restaurants, and convenience stores. And they do that throughout the Midwest. In addition to that, they've had several hotel, retail, and residential projects recently completed across the Midwest as well, including two that are actually happening out in the suburbs right now of Chicago and Cook County. And as you all know, this would be the first hotel development that this very experienced team would do in the city of Chicago. And that's why we're so committed, even though we were not awarded this opportunity, to find a way to make sure we can help shed some light and show the positivity that there is on the West Side. And then the last piece is Ravi and his family's business has had a lot of experience with various hotel chains, from Hilton to Marriott to Hyatt and even IHG. And we can definitely assure you that if given this opportunity, one of those 3 to 4 major hotel brands will be part of this. Brian, if you could move to the next slide. Ravi, would you like to give a...
So the concept that we have here is to bring about 150 to at most 200 room hotel with integrated parking, and ideally devote 2/3 of the first floor to retail for the community, as well as a restaurant concept, and marry that with a rooftop bar, something that really activates the green space that you can see very barely on the top right side of that image. All in all, this is a rendering of what the RFP site looked like. Now, dimensionally, the alternate site that we're beginning to look at right now is similar in size, shaped a little differently. So the building may almost be flipped, almost like a mirror image, just to have it fit a little better. But it should very, very closely resemble this rendering that we have here. And I think all together, the project, we're expecting to be above $45 million all in construction, FF&E, and be ready to start selling rooms. Now the reason we believe that a hotel in this market would truly be something that would serve the needs of the community, twofold. One is the existing resources that the area provides with the movie theaters, or I'm sorry, movie studios, film studios, the hospital, the access to the Pink Line. There's a lot of amenities within the community that are not really being activated to their full potential, and we believe a hotel is part of the reason why that is the case. And then the second thing that the hotel is going to bring, along with helping to activate those amenities, is helping to activate some of the newer developments that are coming in with along the Ogden corridor. I think yeah. So this is the new proposed site. If you can see, it is shaped similarly. We're working with the city, the DPD, Lawndale Christian, as well as private parties to begin site assembly and start fitting the hotel in this landscape here.
And this is so that people are able to orient themselves. This is directly across the street from the farms on Ogden. And what we would like to do is facilitate, as the city of Chicago, facilitate the site assembly so that this hotel proposal can be a part of the renaissance of Ogden Avenue. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. And if you'll see here, not only about the local partners, you'll see here just what the community benefits are. And from someone who doesn't live too far from here, I live on the west side, just east of Lawndale in Tri-Taylor. And this is what I'm really passionate about. If you see here, there's an estimated 30 permanent full-time jobs at minimum. And with that information, at minimum, $35,000 to $45,000 will be the average salary. Based on economic studies, not only from Choose Chicago, which is the city's arm, World Business Chicago, as well as the Illinois Hotel Association, you'll see here that the estimated economic impact is over $100 million just as a result of this development being made and being put in place where it's located. And then you'll see at the very bottom, the final bullet point is really our dedication to working with local organizations. Obviously here, when we talk about 30 permanent full-time employment jobs, we're going to work with North Lawndale Employment Network. Brenda Palms Barber is part of our response. They're still committed to working with us. In addition to that, we have communicated with a restaurateur who is from Lawndale. Her mom still lives there. Her and her husband moved away because their kids went to college down in Louisiana, and they opened up a few restaurants, and they said, we want to come back to our home, and they're ready to come. And when they heard about this opportunity, they signed right up. And so having a restaurateur that's not only from the community, but still has their family live in the community is something pretty special for us. And then finally, when we talked about, when Robbie talked about 2/3 of that ground floor being utilized for local retail, being able to partner with local businesses to give them the opportunities. You know, when Commissioner Cox said across the street are the farms on Ogden, let's find ways that we can help build off of that and build off of the other small businesses that are located in the community. And as you see here, we have to get everyone's support so that we can work with these other partners to make this a reality. Robbie, is there anything you'd like to add, or are we good?
I think you covered it.
I'd say that was it, Commissioner and Brian, for our portion.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Riyadh and Robbie. I'm going to move ahead here and invite Cornelia Spriggs to take over and present the Lawndale Redefined project, which is an Invest Southwest, the results of an Invest Southwest RFP on Ogden Avenue that was awarded in summer of last year.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the introduction. I want to start by saying thank you to the Commissioner, Maurice Cox, and of course, Mayor Lori Lightfoot for all the great work that they've done in putting this Invest Southwest together. But more importantly, thank you to Brian Hacker for his great leadership in getting us across the finish line on a number of fronts as we've tried to work our way through the process. I'm Cornelius Griggs. I'm the president of GRE Ventures. We are the lead development partner for Lawndale Redefined. I'm also accompanied by Tori Barrett and Fred Spencer of Imagine Development Group, and also AJ Patton of 548 Development. We are a 100% African-American development venture who has been awarded the Invest Southwest opportunity here called Lawndale Redefined. So what is Lawndale Redefined? Lawndale Redefined is a 60-unit mixed income, so affordable and market rate units located at the site at 3400 West Ogden. The site will have a mid-rise tower that will be 5 stories with 60 units. It has a technology center that will be operated by City Colleges of Chicago. It also has a 2 restaurants, one dine-in restaurant that will be at the corner of Ogden and Holman, and then a bistro, a rooftop bistro that will be at the corner of Ogden and Trumbull, along with a Whole Food grocer that will also be at the first level of the store at Ogden and Trumbull. We have been working closely with the City of Chicago. The development is currently priced at $31.4 million. We have been working closely with the City of Chicago to get our development applications into IDA, which we recently completed and have been submitted. So we're awaiting tax credit. We've also been working with the city on a couple of other programs to ensure that we have all the funding in place to get this project closed by the end of the year and shovels in the ground the first quarter of 2023. So here you'll see a few renderings of our facility. The one in the top left gives you kind of a aerial view of the facility. You'll see the tower in the back. you'll see at the corner in the left corner of the photo, which is at the corner of Ogden and Trumbull, you'll see our technology building. That's the translucent building that you see right at the corner. And then on the corner of Homan and Ogden, you'll see the dine-in restaurant that we have. We also have a neat little splash pad and kind of courtyard area at the front that'll be facing Ogden Avenue that will be used for summertime events. It'll have a splash pad, it'll have a history trail, and a number of great features there to really allow the community to be a part of the actual development itself. And at the bottom left, you'll see a picture of a rendering of our facility that's actually looking east while standing at the corner of of Ogden and Trumbull. So that's the backside of our technology building. You'll see it opens up and allows visitors to be able to pass through in the event that we're having a arts fair or a larger technology training. One of the other unique pieces of our site is that outside of the cost that we have for the actual facility, we've also carved out a portion of the lot for sale townhomes. So the idea is to spur development of for sale housing along Trumbull, right? As we continue to go what would be north on Trumbull. There are other lots there as well. So we've carved out a portion of our lot to build 3 model for sale townhomes that would then hopefully in the future, if we're able to acquire the lots to the north of us from the city or private owners, we can then begin to build more of those model townhomes. Again, the idea is to kind of reinvigorate the entire community there. So we're excited. My development partners and I are excited. The Invest Southwest opportunity has been great. It's been able to allow developers like myself, first-time developers like myself, has afforded us an opportunity to jump out in our communities and be able to develop, not just build, because that's my background as a contractor, but now I get to develop and build. So we're extremely excited about it and hope that the community will embrace it. We had a larger community event in the summer of 2021, and it went really well. And we were excited to have so many folks from the community come out and join us. We'll be having several other events here as we move into the spring and the summer of this year, really to keep the community engaged of what's happening, where we are in the process, and where the project stands from a constructability perspective. So I'll turn it back over to Brian. If there's any questions, I can take those at the end of the presentation.
Great. Thanks so much, Cornelius. And yeah, definitely look forward to working with you and your team to move this project ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and advance the next project here, which is called Grace Manor, located directly across the street from the Lawndale Redefined RFP project that was just presented. And this is a project that's being led by Eastlake Management and Grace at Jerusalem CDC. So we've got representatives from those groups there tonight. And I believe that Ethan Lassiter from Eastlake is going to be leading the presentation for them. So you're up, Ethan.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, 24th Ward. Ethan Lassiter here representing Grace at Jerusalem CDC, led by Pastor Marvin Hunter, who's on the line as well, along with Eastlake Management and Development. Myself and Tyler Holland are here as well from Eastlake. I won't take a ton of time because we were at the January community meeting, but very briefly, we're continuing to move forward. The Grace Manor project is 65 units of 100% affordable units. Most of them are at 65% area median income, and then another portion of them, 19 of those units, are through CHA's RAD program. So a similar but different funding structure and income structure. So again, the first floor will have community and commercial spaces led by the work of Grace at Jerusalem CDC, really trying to focus on resident services as well as getting to a kind of a larger community service center over time. We are considering a few different options for commercial uses on the first floor, but overall the building will still include resident amenities, including a fitness space, access to those same community services and community spaces, and then a rooftop terrace on the 6th floor. Again, this was approved by the city's plan commission in January at a very high level. This spring, we're getting through the remainder of public approvals and ultimately going to city council. Summer will be spent kind of finalizing some funding and financing, with the aspiration being that we can start construction sometime in the fall. And I'll keep it at that unless there are additional questions.
Great.
Thanks, Ethan. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move to the Q&A, but I'd like to pass it off to Alderman Scott before we do so.
So thank you, Brian. Wanted first to thank all of the development teams that were here today. Want to also thank Commissioner Cox for his leadership in this. Just kind of summarize, not only do we have investment with the Grace Memorial Project, Lawndale Redefined, and hopefully sometime in the future with community approval, the Proxima Hotel, but we have a great organization in Lawndale Christian Development Corporation who are doing 1,000 affordable single-family homes throughout the community over the course of the next probably 5 years. We also are working to somewhere in this corridor to also work with a development that Lawndale Christian is also doing that will be totally affordable housing. We're working with NLCCC to hopefully secure a grocery store, a new grocery store in our community somewhere on that Ogden corridor. The plans are very early stages, so can't talk about details of how, but know that NLCCC, Lawndale Christian, and all of the folks that are here around the table, including DPD, are working to better the community in which we all live and play and serve. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Brian so that we can start this questionnaire.
All right, yeah, thanks so much, Alderman. So we've got some questions in the Q&A, and then we've got some hands raised as well. I'm going to try to go in order of the hands and questions as they come in. And I just wanted to mention as well that for the project representatives, I may just kick some of these over to you because there are some specific questions there that I already see in the Q&A. But I believe here that Kimmy Jordan, I'm going to give you speaking permission here. You've had your hand raised for a while, so please go ahead, Kimmy. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
All right, thanks.
Yes. Okay. My name is Kimmy Jordan. I am a hotel worker at the Downtown Hotel, member of Unite Here. And I'm sorry, I got a little thrown off. I didn't expect to get called first. But I am a member of Unite Here Local 1. I'm just here to let you guys know. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
No less than downtown when it comes to the quality of hospitality jobs. Alderman Scott, I asked you not to move forward with this project unless it's a commitment from the Proxima Management Hotel to create good hospitality jobs for the community. Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So, we want to make sure that whomever comes to this community, we want to make sure that we're going to do right by our community. That includes high-paying jobs, high-paying wages, and making sure that folks from this community are employed. What I can't commit to now is because I have questions in the chat talking about the hotel is going to displace people, and you can't have it both ways where people don't want to be displaced. People want high-paying jobs, or union jobs, and then say high-paying jobs because we're going to make sure that those are high-paying jobs. And you try to marry all of that before you even have a shovel in the ground to know how much it's going to cost and what the room prices are going to be. And so what I will commit to doing is to continue working with everybody in the community. Folks from local 1 at Unite Here, we will work with you to make sure that folks have a great job. I don't know if Unite Here will be that union, but we will work with everybody. We're not going to turn anybody away. We're going to do what is best for individuals in the community in which we live, we serve, and we work and we play. And so you have my commitment to work with you, and that's where we leave it.
And Alderman, I'd like to chime in if you guys can still hear me. On behalf of the Proxima team, we're very well of that. We're very well aware of that. Like I said, I live in the community. This is a by far majority MBE, WBE project, and we understand not displacing people, number one. We understand, number two, providing high paying jobs, at least livable wages. And number three, we understand the importance of Unite here and every other union that's there, right? This isn't one of those things that anybody's trying to sneak up on someone, right? We were very transparent and very direct and frank during the RFP process of what we intended to do. And we are thankful that even though we weren't selected, this is still an opportunity for us, and us seeing the value of coming there and ensuring that people within the community are being the recipients of what we shared when we highlighted what the community benefits were.
Great.
Thanks, Riyadh. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Ed Coleman's question regarding what the tech center will consist of. So for this, I think the Lawndale Redefined team, this one's for you.
Yeah, I'll take that one on behalf of the team. So the Tech Center is a technology and arts center. So the idea behind the center is to bring technology and arts into the community. So, one of the things we'll have there is a running round of art shows that will happen in the summertime, where folks can come and view and be a part of art listings and showings. The technology side of that is technology training in Bitcoin and 3D and imaging and a lot of the technology training that's happening right now within the city colleges and within the city of Chicago, and some of these things that are happening on the West Coast that we're going to be bringing into the Lawndale community. So we have a couple partnerships already set up with technology-driven organizations that are offering up their services to come and lease our space and provide this training on behalf of the city colleges, on behalf of our team. So that's where we're really trying to target the community and give folks something different than what we've seen in the past, whether it's been construction opportunities or lower paying wage opportunities. Really get folks trained to get into the marketplace and do the job of the future, not the job of yesterday.
Thanks, Cornelius. I'd also like to pivot. There are several questions in the chat here that are related to bidding on these jobs for contractors. And, I assume this is pointed towards, smaller local subcontractors who would like to, be a part of the construction here. I think this is one that could go either to, Cornelius and his team, or also maybe let's turn it over to Ethan and Tyler Holland from Eastlake. Your project is the furthest along in the process here, having cleared plan commission. Maybe you could talk about the plan that you have. I know all these projects are definitely supportive of MBE and WBE participation and looking to exceed the city's basic requirements. So Ethan, maybe you can address these questions.
Yeah, thanks. I'll keep it brief, but again, it's a new and unique opportunity to have both these projects across from each other be Black-led, Black-owned, meeting MBE, and with the goal of meeting and exceeding MBE sub-requirements. So again, specifically for Grace Manor, there are opportunities to bid on sub-consultant portions of the work. I'll add it to the chat, but you can literally email gracemanor@eastlakemgmt.com, and you'll be added when we're bidding out the work for subs.
And Cornelius, I don't mean to put you on the spot again, but I want to bring you back in the conversation because I know that you have a history of trying to engage with residents of the communities where you work to try to involve them in your projects. And this is something that you prioritized in the past. So I think this would be a great time for you to, describe the efforts you made in the past.
Definitely. I think the unique opportunity that I have here is that I'm sitting in the development seat. I won't be the primary contractor on this deal, so I'll be able to guide our contracting partner in the right direction on how we need to ensure minority and locally owned businesses are engaged. But we're doing work in Lawndale right now. I saw one of my clients on the call line from LCDC, Richard Townsell, who I'm working for, and we're doing a big project for him at the corner of 18th and Pulaski. We just finished up A Safe Haven, which was a veteran studio, 90 units at the corner of Roosevelt and California. And on both of those projects, the goal was to be intentional about the contractors we engage, as many of them as local as possible, but also about the workforce that we employ, ensuring that the folks who are working on those jobs are directly from the community. On our Roosevelt project at A Safe Haven, the veteran studios there, we employ 27 individuals from the community, right there from that area off of Roosevelt in California. We're just getting started on Richard Townsell's project. We're only about a month in, but we're also looking to pick up some community hires there as well. So there will be a ton of opportunity for folks who truly want to work, who are qualified, who have the skill set, and want to come and be a part of the opportunity, whether it's from a workforce perspective or from a subcontracting perspective. As we get closer to bidding, we'll make sure that we get information out to everyone, and we have a really robust system for reaching out. So I would encourage, if you have not worked with our organization before, I would encourage you to go to our website, www.gmaconstructiongroup.com, and you can find all of our bidding opportunities right there on our website page.
The other thing that I want to say, Brian, is before any of these are going to get in the ground, we will have a local vendors fair with all of the projects that we have, to do an open call for anybody who wants to bid on these projects. Now, you have to come in and you have to have your pencil sharpened and make sure that it fits within the scope and the budget of the project. But if it does, we want to make sure that folks in this community are being able to eat off of these projects. That is why we have local indigenous developers. Cornelius Griggs is a native of the west side of Chicago. Riyad Cosby, who's working with Proxima, is a native of the west side of Chicago. Pastor Marvin Hunter was born and raised, preaches, and still lives in the community. And so we were intentional about bringing ownership from this community so that they know the plight and the what needs to happen for the folks that live in this ward. And I will make sure that as long as I'm alderman, we're going to stay on top of them to do so.
Thanks, Alderman. I think this is a good segue into some of the concerns that are being raised in the chat around displacement, gentrification. I mean, this is something that we're well aware of, and a conversation that we've, had with the community in the past. And I'd like to ask Commissioner Cox to jump in and address, how we're responding to those concerns.
I'd also like to say something about that too, right?
So for those who are raising these issues, these are at the core of everything we're doing in planning. And to be at a moment where hundreds of millions of dollars of investment are coming to North Lawndale, and the folks who are leading them look like the folks on this call, this is what we have been waiting for. These are folks who know the community, who are talking about Black enterprise, providing retail opportunities that are locally driven so that people literally can walk to work. They can walk to a set of amenities. So I know it almost feels too good to be true. You're like, is this for real? This is what we've been waiting for. And we're doing it with a great intention to make sure that it is steeped in local knowledge and local wealth building opportunity. So the different developers have talked about the retail opportunities that they would like to bring. These are amenities that people have asked for, whether it's a sit-down restaurant or a corner grocery store that could be locally owned, or whether it's a technology hub. These are the amenities that people have been asking for, and these developers are the ones that are able to bring them. Affordable housing. There's a reason why we are focusing on housing options for people who live in the community who can afford these apartments that are being proposed. So we've been very, very intentional so that people have more options, not fewer. So, we will continue to listen to the concerns, but I think whether it's for rental housing, which is what you're seeing on the corridor, or whether it's infill affordable home ownership opportunities, which is the other initiative that the alderman spoke to, we are presenting the full gamut of ways for people to be able to stay in this community, whether they want to be in an apartment building or whether they want to be in a 2-flat or a single family home. The strategy that you're seeing includes all of those options. So Alderman, I know you said you wanted to speak on this.
I do. So, for years, for 50 years, there has been a lack of investment in this community. And, I hear once, twice, 5 times a day about how are you going to bring development, the things that we want, the amenities that we need to a community that has been underserved for so long. You can only do that by building. We don't have the stores, we don't have the commercial fronts, we don't have the affordable housing that another community might have. And so we will have to build. And there may be a little bit of stretch in terms of dollars and affordability in folks' homes. What I will say though is everybody that is a homeowner wants to see the value of their home go up, because that is how you build local wealth, by you're owning your home and the value of your home going up. We've been very intentional, and we're in a very good place. We're unlike a community like Humboldt Park, where a lot of those vacant lots were sold to the highest bidder. This administration, Commissioner Cox and Commissioner Navarro, who's our housing commissioner, understands that all the land that is in and around North Lawndale, the 3,000 vacant lots that we have, the majority of them are owned by the city. And if we're able to put affordable houses on those, and that is the goal that we're doing, we got 1,000 that hopefully will come in the next 5 to 10 years. If we are able to control that market, we're not able to stop the rising of the houses, but we're able to slowly build the wealth of those houses, as opposed to them jumping exponentially and causing folks to move. And we're being very intentional about that. We're not trying to make any seniors move out of their projects. We want to make sure that everybody that is here has the ability to take part in these, has the ability to, there's a question about the amenities in the projects. I mean, in the proposed projects that we're going to have, they'll be open to the community. The Innovation Center is for the community. The affordable housing is for the community. The storefronts will be made available for folks who want to rent from the community. These are developers that are from our neighborhoods. These are developers that look like us. These are developers that have cut their teeth and played in the sandboxes in the same places that we have. And they understand the value of having participation from this community. And this is why I'm bringing them to you, so that you can hear it. And I want you to continue to press them on it, because we want to make sure that they hear this every step of the way and continue to own up to what they've already committed to. And that is full community participation. Brian?
I want to add quickly to that. I think one of the things, the alderman has been, really, really pushing is not only redeveloping in North Lawndale and in his community, but making sure that the development teams are representative of the folks who are from the community. And as he mentioned, I grew up in Austin and North Lawndale. I spent 20 years of my life there. I used to live at 16th and Trumbull. So I understand the community, and most of the developers who are on the call, and if not all of them, are from the community, and we understand the community. So Alderman Scott has been a champion of that. We wouldn't be here. I know I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you if it were not for him and some of the other projects that we have going on in this board. But also it's when you look at where we're developing, most of these sites are vacant vacant lots that have been sitting in our community for years. So it's not a displacement of residents, but more so a beautification of the community so that residents can come out and be able to enjoy these things. Having what they have in the West Loop and bringing that to North Lawndale to some extent, I think is something that we should celebrate.
Correct.
And provide kudos to the alderman for the great work that he's done to bring a $500 million worth of investment into a community that's never seen that type of investment before. So kudos to the alderman, the city of Chicago, Commissioner Cox for what they're doing here. I mean, it cannot go.
And this is Cornelius. I don't want to cut you off, and I do the same, Brian. This is Riyadh. I've got to jump in a second, but I want to just echo that, right? I mean, we're doing projects in the suburbs. It's about damn time that we do some projects in our communities. It is a shame that we can't get people to come invest. And so since we do have that, everyone should feel comfortable knowing that we are committed to the community in every single one of these projects. And that is a result. Look, Alderman Scott and Commissioner Cox did a lot of convincing, right, to pitch their neighborhood. Even though that we are from this neighborhood or near this neighborhood and know about this neighborhood, there were also other Invest Southwest projects we all could have applied to, right? There's a reason why we wanted to come to this one, and it's because it means something special to us. So I just wanted to throw that in there and echo what Cornelius said.
Great. Thank you all for the responses on that. I know it's a issue that's a concern to a lot of folks here in the community, so I want to make sure we take appropriate time with it. But there's also a lot of folks here who have their hands up, so I appreciate your patience. And I'm going to call upon Natalie Frazier. So you should be able to speak now. So Natalie, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Frazier. I'm a new North Lawndale resident, but I'm from the Austin area. And I want to say one thing I appreciate about this project is the affordable housing. I think that's great. But my question is about how North Lawndale residents are going to be able to truly enjoy these new amenities. Like Greg said, I love West Loop, right? I love bistros, I love rooftop bars, but we also have to recognize what the average income is of North Lawndale, right? How are we going to be able to enjoy these new amenities, right? Are we getting a universal basic income, or are we going to be getting discounted drinks? I'm curious as to how residents are going to be able to enjoy these amenities rather than stay here, right? I think we've already covered that. I'm interested in how we're going to be able to enjoy these things you all are bringing.
So I think the first answer to that is we want to employ as many people as we can. If you have a good job, you have the ability to not only pay rent, but then hopefully you have the ability to go out and do something of your leisure, right? You know, this isn't a guaranteed base income project, so I won't even touch that. And then I would have to leave it up to developers and meeting with community to figure out what that price point is. What we want this to be as successful, right? It makes no sense to build something and then it goes away. We had a movie theater that came back, you know, probably my first year over on Roosevelt and Holman, put a lot of money into that, and then we couldn't get the folks to use it, not because they were outpriced, because they had days where community come in for half price, but it's because we didn't use it. So we have to make sure that these projects are successful. If we have a restaurant, we have to be able to support that restaurant. If we have a clothing store or some other kind of store, we have to support it as a community. I know people go outside of this community all the time to shop and do things. And I'm not saying that they can afford it, because I don't know what everybody's pocketbooks look like. What I am saying though is we have to be able to support the things that are in our community, and we can work with the developers to have maybe community nights or community evenings and community things like that. But we want it to be successful as well. And so if every night everybody comes in there and everything's free, there is no way for that to happen. And so again, working with members of the community like yourself, we can talk about some of those things and how to work and massage those for community. I'd turn it over to any developer to talk about that as well.
And Alderman, if I could just add, I think as it was stated, all of these developments are happening on vacant land. So what they are going to be bringing are white box spaces that can be programmed for a host of community needs. So if the dominant need is of an affordable, family-oriented restaurant, there will now be a space that can accommodate that use. If there's a need for a really a finer dining restaurant, you know, there will be a space where that program can live side by side next to a family-oriented restaurant. If the community desires a food hall, so that smaller businesses, that culinary businesses can co-locate, there's now a space in their program where that can happen. But up until now, we don't have spaces on Ogden for those kinds of uses. So the best thing we could do is to make sure that the developers know what are the kinds of businesses that Ogden, North Lawndale residents will patronize. And they will make the white box, and they will get out and find the local talent and restaurateurs and other business owners who can finally have a quality retail space to locate. And I think that's how you assure that everyone in North Lawndale can access the amenities that are being brought. But we've got to build those spaces to fill those storefronts with entrepreneurs and businesses. And we know how to do it. And I think these developers have gone to great extent to try to curate their spaces so that they will be frequented by the folks who live in North Lawndale.
Thanks everyone for the responses to that and for your question, Natalie. I'm going to stick with the raised hands here and call on Phil Perquette. You should be allowed to speak here. Phil, you there?
Good afternoon, good evening, actually. Hello, everyone. I'm listening to the projects, and I am Minister Perquette, born and raised in the Lawndale community. Good to see you again, Alderman Scott. And I've been a part of when we had the discussions about the Will Group bringing their facility on Polk and Kilpatrick. I was a part of the discussion of the cultivation center idea that the Will Groups wanted to bring in as well. So I'm listening to all these projects that you all are identifying, and they sound wonderful. However, I do have just two questions really quick. And the purpose behind the questioning is awareness. And I've heard you all state or use the word transparency. I've heard you all looking for public approval. I don't know what that consists of, but I've been a part of a lot of the violence intervention programs and workshops that Ernie Duncan's group build. A lot of the organizations that are working towards reducing violence. And one of the questions that comes up often is providing resources and jobs and opportunities to grow in technology and all the things that you all are presenting. In all of the meetings that I've been involved with over the last 3 months, I've not heard any of this. I was just in a discussion just recently, 2 weeks ago, with the 11th and the 10th, and I believe the 15th district. And we're trying to identify, and they're talking about resources and funds that are going to be made available for nonprofit, faith-based organizations, as well as the developers that are on this call and others. But none of these projects have come up. So what number one, is the deck available that you all have tonight? Number two, how are we communicating with other organizations to make sure that they're aware of some of this stuff that's coming down? Those are just two of the questions that I have.
So I'll start, and then I'll let Commissioner or somebody else who wants to follow up. Good to see you again too, Reverend. What I will say is I have a community meeting, except for last month. I have a community, even throughout the pandemic, I have a community meeting every month, and everybody's welcome. And when I get information, I pass that along. I have a mail list, and that's how most people got this. I have a Facebook page, and I try to put that out. I say oftentimes that you have to be participatory in your government. And I don't know how often I've seen you at the community meeting. Not sure. I know I saw you at the one that was about the will group. And so, I urge folks come to the office. We're there 7 days a week, and any information that we can pass out, we do. Anything that we have that the city's doing out, we pass along, and we try to get it out to as many members of the community as possible. But we don't have the wherewithal to go door to door. We don't have the wherewithal to drop things in people's mailboxes. So again, government is participatory, and I would ask you, if there's something that you're looking for specifically, set a meeting. We can get on a Zoom like this. We can figure out what we need to do to kind of help you if there's some issues. Brian is very good at that. Brian is always around. He's always lending himself as well. So, Commissioner, you got anything? Anybody else want to follow up?
Sure. Now, I would just say, we are trying to create as many venues that allow people to access information from their home, just like we are doing tonight with these virtual meetings where you can meet all of the developers who are seeking to do things in your community. So this has been one of the unintended outcomes of the COVID pandemic, is that we can now reach people in their homes, at their kitchen table, and have conversations like we're having tonight. The planning department set up a vehicle called the Roundtables, Community Roundtables. So every month we have a reoccurring appointment, and it is open to everyone to come and be kept apprised of what's going on in the community. And we should make sure, Brian, that how people access that venue is in the chat so that they can participate, because we need more and more people to participate in that vehicle. In addition, the city sponsored a series of corridor managers. So every one of these Invest Southwest corridors has a corridor manager, and I'll let Brian speak to that, because they too are able to walk the corridor, keep relations with business owners and stakeholders, and continue to disseminate information. So we've got a story to tell. We are constantly we have information to share. We rely heavily on the alderman and his network, and we'll try to keep that information flowing. We know that the best answer to violence in our community is a good paying job. And so at the core of all of this is we are trying to create real jobs that give people a reason to be productive. And so we're not talking tonight about the Roosevelt Costner, but that development in and of itself is going to produce hundreds of jobs. And these are jobs that folks in North Lawndale can access and can walk to work. And so we're doing jobs in a big way in Roosevelt Costner, but also jobs with a little j, because all of these developments will have opportunities to employ people locally. And this, when we get to a critical mass where there are eyes on the streets, more pedestrians on the streets, you're going to see the impact that's going to have on public safety. So we've got to get rid of the vacant lots. We've got to fill them with developments, with folks who will be on those streets doing productive activities. Cornelius Grigg talked about creating a public plaza at Lawndale Redefined. He talked about splash pads. So the idea that young people would come out on Ogden and play and have their family and friends be there as well. All of that, I think, leads to a greater sense of public safety. So we have to do this development in order to have hopefully a safer community. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner and Alderman, for addressing those questions and comments. So speaking of our corridor manager for the Ogden Avenue and West Southwest Priority Corridor, we're working with Jesse Green of NLCCC and Rodney Brown of New Covenant CDC. And Jesse is here. And Jesse, you want to jump in and just say, I think everybody in North Lawndale knows you, so I won't say introduce yourself, but maybe just say hello and speak to the work that you're doing in partnership with the city.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. As Brian indicated, New Covenant and North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council is the corridor manager for the Ogden corridor. And as the alderman indicated, we have boots on the ground circulating information about each of these projects. We have a robust network of providers in which we disseminate information through, and those providers then disseminate the information for these various projects and these initiatives. We have a roundtable that we do once a month to inform community on this. So we use social media for these. So we have tried to access all of the resources to get information out about these projects as we possibly can. Again, as the alderman indicated, we've been working on this for, I think, a bit over a year now. And so if you'd like to send me your information in the chat, we'll make sure that you are added to our list, our distribution list. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jesse. And I know there's also a question about the community roundtables. There, I'll put my email in the chat. We've got a list of community stakeholders and residents, business owners, leaders of local CDCs and organizations that are part of that. But we're always looking to expand the conversation. So, I'd be glad to talk about that further. So I also want to call on Pastor James Brooks from Lawndale Christian, who had his hand raised. So Pastor Brooks, why don't you go ahead?
Everybody, thanks so much for this gathering, Alderman and Commissioner. I really appreciate it. I guess Proxima questions around the hotel development. One question, will you guys plan on being long-term holders of the asset? Because the concern is, hey, once it stabilizes, you'll flip it and another management company will come in. So how do you, when we look at long-term investment and long-term stability and long-term relationship and not just coming in and leaving, have you guys thought about that, Ravi?
Yes, we have. And I will say, historically, we tend to hold our properties for at the very least 10 years. I think aside from the newly developed ones, we haven't really been one of those folks that comes in, stabilizes and flips. We like to hold on and continue refreshing, continue engaging with the community, continue refreshing the building as it ages. I mean, right now I've got a property that we're doing the third renovation on. We've had that property for over 15 years now. I will say we go out of our way to engage with the community, and as a result, we tend to end up staying in the area because we have built up the relationships. We have developed a foothold in the community, and that's not something that's easy to replace.
One other thing I'd like to say about that, I'm sure that at a hotel that there will be some kind of beverage service that is alcoholic, right? And so what we do is put a moratorium in place. And so if you're going to sell an establishment that has a liquor license, I have to lift that moratorium in order for it to happen, which means that if they do plan on selling, they could not sell it without input from the alderman, which means input from the community. So they would have to hold it, because I would doubt that they could sell the hotel and have to close all of their alcoholic beverage services. So there is a catch-all in place to make sure that that happens correctly.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the response, Ravi, Alderman Scott. So Ravi, since you were just up here, we had another question in the Q&A. Where would people come from to rent the rooms? What do you see as your customer base for the project?
Well, we do have the intermodal facility to the south of that location. We do have essentially anywhere the pink line goes and connects to adjacent to that. And looking towards downtown, you've got the hospital system, you've got the film studios, you've got the brewery, you've got many other potential sources of business, along with, families. When I travel or when I travel for business, it's one thing, but when I travel with my family, I'm looking for a place to park. I'm looking for, because we usually have a car. I've got five people when I travel, 3 girls, right? So I need to be wary of all of these things. And so what we're looking to do is deliver a mid-scale to upper mid-scale property that caters to not just your everyday traveler, but your family traveler as well. And so there's also the I want to say that there is so many of the new developments that are coming in that will naturally provide sources of business between the technology center, technology and art center, the new housing that's coming in. Folks are always going to visit family during and around the holidays. So I believe it's a good synergy that we have in terms of the developments that we have already out there, the new developments that are on the books, and the hotel honestly just complements it all.
Thanks a lot, Robbie. I'm going to jump back over to the raised hands, and let's see, Dustin De La Cruz, go ahead.
Hi, well, my name is Andrea. I have a couple questions on basically what's like violence in the community, because like you guys stated before, I know that you guys are thinking about opening all these jobs and doing all this stuff that to somebody who doesn't live in a community sounds great, like it's something good, like it makes the community stand out and everything. But somebody who has lived in a community like on an everyday basis, it's great that there's so many jobs, but there's not people who want to work those jobs. This also being, you guys were talking about how you guys wanted to have more small businesses come in and all of this. What does these small businesses and how these house owners feel safe with? Like, how can we, as people who want to invest in this neighborhood, how can we have protection? I don't know if you guys are working closely with the police department, or what are you guys doing to make the people in the community who want to invest money in their own community feel like they are protected?
So good question, right? So the thing that I know and the commissioner alluded to is the more positive activity you have in any one community, the more people are getting up and going to work, the more eyes there are on the street, the more people that are calling the police and asking for service, the better it is your community. That is it, plain and simple. Now, is it going to happen overnight? Is everything going to change immediately? No. But the way that you stop violence, the best, if you can't give somebody or can't ask somebody to put down their guns if you don't give them a trade or a job to pick up in advance. And that is what we're doing. Is it going to work for everyone? No, but there are young men that you know, somebody mentioned Chicago Cred and Emerson and Build and all of these anti-violence groups. You know, I deal with them on a regular, and they have young men and women who are looking to get out of the life, but don't have those opportunities. What we have to do as a city is be able to provide them the opportunities, provide them the training, and give them access to that. Commissioner talks a lot about having a job that you can walk to. That allows folks to get out of bed, get to work on time, have a productive job, go back home. And that is a major piece of the puzzle as it relates to crime and reducing crime and better public safety in our communities. The other thing is, yes, we are going to work very closely with our partners in law enforcement, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that happens. I do that every day, and we will also ask people to step up and make phone calls. And I know that there are many folks that are there are many people who are in and around our community that just do not pick up the phone and don't want to be a part. You have to participate in your government. And the last thing that I will say is we're working and we're asking for your help as it relates to a public safety strategy in and around North Lawndale this summer before these things get built. And so I'm working with NLCCC, I'm working with North Lawndale Employment Network, and I'm working with anybody else on this roundtable or this call or this open house who wants to do so. And if Jesse, if you can put the email for NLCCC or how they can get in contact with you to help yourself, help your community, we are willing for everybody to be rowing in the same boat. Everybody rowing in the same boat in the same way. It cannot just be on the developers, the community-based organizations, DPD, or the alderman. It has to be everybody. Everybody has to get in and everybody has to participate.
Yeah, I mean, I just would say that, I'll just tell you, last week, I was fortunate to go to the grand opening of the Go Green Fresh Market in Inglewood. It's a corner grocery store. It was advanced by Iman Development Group. The city put in a couple of $1 million to help it happen. When they brought the folks who actually did the rehabilitation to the stage, there were about a dozen young Black men who came to that stage. Some of them were returning citizens to their community who built this new amenity for the community. And now they are ready to go on to the next job. And so their lives have fundamentally been changed by a construction project in their neighborhood. And so we just imagine what it might mean for North Lawndale. We're not talking about a $5 million project. We're talking about cumulatively over $200 million and how many lives that can change. So this is it in action. Obviously I know, Cornelius can talk about the power of the young men and women that he has brought along through his company, and to now be able to do that in North Lawndale, not just on one site, but on multiple sites. I think this is the only way to do it. Just take the step, provide the opportunities within reach of residents who live there. These are our neighbors, these are our brothers, these are our sons and daughters. And so we're committed to it. But we just want to keep that pipeline going because every new development represents new jobs for residents.
I think the commissioner hit it right on the head. We look at, we've done a lot of work on particularly on the west side of Chicago. And I refer back to the projects that we're currently working on right now and those that we're wrapping up. But, one of the things we struggled with at the corner of Roosevelt and Sacramento was violence and crime when we started building a 5-story 90-unit veteran studio. And I grew up in those neighborhoods and may not know some of the younger guys that are there, but I definitely know the older guys. And one of the things I did was I pulled, those couple factions of gangs that were together there at that corner, and I started offering, what do we need to do to make it peaceful here so that we can build this facility that's going to do something great for the community. And then I started hiring individuals, giving, 4, 5, 6 individuals a job as a laborer, making prevailing wages at $85 and $90 an hour. It changes how an individual who is one day on the street corner causing ruckus and now coming to work on a construction project that's on the same corner where they used to stand every day, but now they're making $85 an hour and they're doing it safely. You will be amazed of what, having a great paying job will do for someone. And it wasn't just that project. Because we have, multiple projects, roughly 19 of them going on around the city, we're able to keep individuals employed on multiple projects so that they're not working for 2 or 3 weeks on one project, but they're able to move to the next project. They're able to go over and work on LCDC's project that we're doing with Richard Townsell. They're able to move down to the Cook County facility where we're working. This is what this type of development and investment in North Lawndale will create, because not only will they work for me, but they'll be able to go work for Eastlake. They'll be able to transition and work at the Proxima, right? Those are the type of opportunities you need to keep a community going. And when folks are making those type of wages, then they become productive members of the community and of society, and they spend money within the community. The idea is to get the dollars circulating back in North Lawndale, not the folks who currently live in North Lawndale or own in North Lawndale going outside of North Lawndale to spend their hard-earned money. We want to bring those dollars back into North Lawndale. The only way to do that is what the alderman and the commissioner are doing now, and that's bringing these services, bringing these amenities back into the community.
Thanks a lot, Cornelius, and everyone else for your responses on that. There's been a ton of good questions and comments here. I've been furiously typing away in the Q&A to try to stay ahead of them as much as possible and hear as many folks as we can. We're coming to the last 5 minutes here. There's a lot of there's a lot of comments and a lot of questions around affordability as it relates to property taxes. So, obviously, from the planning department's point of view, we don't assess properties. It's the Cook County tax assessor that does that. However, we know that this is affordability, particularly for folks like seniors who have been in the neighborhood for a long time, is a big, concern, and a lot of people have questions around that. So, unfortunately, we don't have the Department of Housing here tonight, but I do know that DOH, having worked with them on other projects and partnered with them, that they are, out ahead.
Hey, Brian. Brian. This is what I'm going to offer to folks that are here this evening that are worried about gentrification and what that strategy is. Our next community meeting, which will be next month, I will invite the Department of Housing to talk about, the displacement strategy and what we're doing and how that will affect folks that live here. We have good planners around the table, but they don't plan as it relates to housing. I'm going to also ask Richard Townsell to come back next month and present on those 1,000 homes that are going to be affordable as well. And then we'll talk a little bit about all the affordable properties that are going to come with Lawndale Redefined again, and what's going to come with Grace Memorial, Pastor Hunter, and the like again. So we will have them come. What I'm also going to ask Brian to do is get all of the questions that are in the chat, even the ones that have been answered. I am going to make sure that they are all answered, and we will send that out to everybody who is registered on this call this evening. The last thing that I want to do is, and I would be remiss if I didn't do this before we got off the line. My partner in good government, I don't know if he's still here, Commissioner Dennis Deere, who assists me and is a partner in all of this development that we have been doing on the county side. I think he's jumped off, but I just wanted to recognize that he was here, and I did want him to say a couple words, but it looks like he is gone now. So again, we will answer all of the questions. We will email them to everyone who is here. So if you have a question, I would ask you right now to drop that in the chat. I am going to turn it over to Commissioner Cox to say a couple final words, and then we're going to bid you a farewell. Commissioner Cox.
Again, Alderman Scott, thank you for hosting this. And you had about 85, 90 people. That means you got 85 and 90 more informed residents who know what's going on. And I can see that there's a desire to stay connected as these projects evolve. I think we've gotten a lot of good input, and quite frankly, there's a lot of positivity in the chat that seem to really be welcoming these opportunities. It's important, I think, feeling welcomed for people who are getting ready to make a long-term investment in a community. It's really important. And that's partly what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to change the narrative about Black and brown communities, that yes, we want development. We want a development that is equitable, that is done by folks who look like us, who have our interests in heart, and that leads to growth, but a growth that is inclusive. And so we're working really, really hard to make sure that this is not the kind of growth that displaces, but this is the kind of growth that is healthy and inclusive of those who stayed in our communities. So we continue to welcome your input. We continue to welcome these wonderful proposals. The idea of a hotel on Ogden, I can't imagine 10 years ago that people would have imagined that possible. And yet we have investors who are willing to bet on North Lawndale. And I want to welcome them. I want to have their investment be informed by forums like this, and then move forward. And so we'll continue to seek your input as we try to help these development projects land in the right way and be very much about the place. And we will continue to invite more people to the table. I'm looking forward to our first groundbreaking so that people understand that this is real and that will happen within this year. And I think the word is out that North Lawndale is a community worth investing in. And we will continue to work with you to keep that information flowing and keeping the pipeline of inclusive development flowing. So again, thanks everyone for your attention tonight. Thank you, Brian Hacker, for just being on it and pulling together this material. And we will see you at the next forum. Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Alderman Scott. Thank you, Commissioner.
We'll follow up with the responses to all the questions to the registration list. So
all right.
We'll be in
Thank you
touch.
so much.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Alderman.